Hello, I'm Catrin Finch. I'm a harpist for Wales.
And I'm Aoife Bhríain, and I'm a violinist from Dublin, Ireland.
We're doing a showcase here at Classical Next. And so, we're really excited about that. It's great to be here. I think for both of us, it's our first time here.
Yeah,
right?
It's our first time at Classical Next, yeah. Yeah, so our debut album, W, is what we're performing some pieces from today. And it's kind of, it's an interesting album because it kind of takes in all the elements of music that kind of helped us become who we are as musicians today. So there's some folk influence, some classical influence, some kind of world music influences that we kind of picked up along the way, and then just pieces that we've written ourselves. So it's as Catrin likes to say, it's a mixed bag. Yeah, it's a mixed bag.
Definitely, even in the last decade, I think I found it really difficult to categorize the music I've been playing and working with other people. And then, Aoife and I have been playing together for 3-4 years now. And, we're both classically trained musicians. But, growing up in Wales and Ireland, obviously, we were steeped in, especially you, Aoife, right? In real Celtic and traditional music as well. And then, obviously, I have obviously also been working with some world musicians. And so how you put a label on that, I don't know, actually. But I think increasingly, actually, this idea of having to label music and having to box itself into one category is becoming less and less relevant, actually. And we're here to celebrate classical music, but there's classical music, I think, is such a broad spectrum now.
Yeah, when I think of classical music, we include Baroque music all the way up to contemporary music that was written, a few days ago, a few hours ago. So how can we put all the music that we've ever listened to growing up under one label of classical? It's so much more nuanced than that. And I think that's something really amazing about the classical music community, is that there is that nuance and there is that kind of expansive amount of repertoire and program that you can choose from. So, if you want to look at, let's say, folk music that inspired classical composers, you have Beethoven, Xenakis, you have Brahms, there's Ionescu from Ireland, you've got Sean O'Riordan. Such different music and so many different ways of composing. Yet it's all called classical music. So for us, I think we're very lucky in that for us, classical music is a range of music that we have gotten to perform and enjoy and learn and experience over our careers to date. And then we have our own folk music and our own traditional music, and then traditional music that we've shared with other musicians from all over the world.
Yeah.
And we've just been very fortunate to kind of get that extremely broad spectrum of music and get to play it and enjoy it. So I think it's just amazing to be here and see how other people have experienced the classical music, if we want to call it that. Maybe we should make it, I don't know, like a new glossary of terms for classical music. I don't know.
And I also think even within our music, so, not even talking about the bigger picture of classical music, but just within the music we play, there are so many different genres. Some pieces are entirely created by traditional tunes.
Yeah.
Other pieces we have composed, one piece we play is inspired by a Bach prelude. And so it's like even within our small box, we are multi-genre in a way, and multi.
Isn't that what sort of connected your initiates?
Yeah, Bach holds a very special place for us, actually, and we both are great fans of his music and love him. And it was one of the unaccompanied violin Bach preludes that was our catalyst. So it was a piece that I happened to play on the harp, and of course Aoife plays it, and it was the piece we first played together in a room back in 2021, and it was what we needed to start the whole thing, really.
And I studied in Leipzig, so for me Bach is almost traditional music to Leipzig in a way. It's so embedded in the city, and I ended up listening to a lot of his choral music when I was there and experiencing the Bach festival every year. And that just, yeah, for me, Bach is a traditional music from Leipzig in a way, because he was the Kapellmeister in Thomaskirche for so many years, and he left such a legacy that I felt like I'd gone from home to home, from Dublin, where I was immersed in the music of Ireland and the kind of, let's call it, the dialect of the music in Dublin. And then I got to study in Leipzig, where, so much of what came from Leipzig, so much of the music that's created there and experienced there has got to do with Bach and the legacy he left. So yeah, it was really lovely that we had that in common.
You know what? Interestingly, I always, when we do our shows, because we have to explain, we don't have to, but we choose to explain the title of our album, which is W. And one of the things that's about actually is the fact that when Aoife and I started playing together, we say that we spoke and we still speak kind of the same musical language. And that doesn't happen all the time actually. Like, you don't, we're all working musicians. We work with other musicians all the time, and you create, obviously, every time you work with another musician, you create something amazing, right? And for that event, but every now and then, and it doesn't happen very often, you play with somebody where you're just together, and you're not trying to be together. You're not trying, but it just happens, and you think the same. Your feeling is the same. The way we write is the same. We don't argue basically about chords and stuff,
That's true. We don't argue. I don't
kind of hack it off, yeah. And so you sort of know pretty immediately when you're playing with someone if you're together or not,
But I think also harp and violin is not a common duo to find, and in the classical repertoire, there's not a huge amount of music for us to play, so that also gave us an enormous amount of freedom to create our own music and kind of create our own language in the music between the harp and the violin. And I play hardanger fiddle as well on the record, and I'll be playing it here at Classical next. And it's actually a Locatelli caprice that we've kind of messed around with a little bit, but on the hardanger fiddle. So that's another kind of sound world that we've brought into the duo, which is really beautiful. I think we come in with ideas, both of us. So we'll come in with like a motif or a riff or just a general idea about creating something that might sound like this, and then play an example. What's very frustrating is that I'll have something in my mind and I'll play an example, and Catrin will say, oh, like this, and then she'll absolutely nail it, like smash it out of the park, and I feel very dejected because I say, yes, exactly like that, and then I have to try and I kind of come up with something that's on a similar level.
That happens both ways. It's an amazing process, that writing. It's very exciting because you can, sometimes it will need a small cluster of notes, and the idea will be the initial idea. Yeah. Or, we'll be playing in a sound check, and you just mess around in a sound check, and all of a sudden you play something. We're like, oh, watch it. Like, that's quite cool. And then you grab your phone and your voice recording thing, and you're quick to get it down. And then you can kind of work on it and build on it, and we can take it to this or to that, and that process is really what it's all about, right? That creative process of starting the smallest little riff or idea, and then create a whole piece out of it.
We're actually kind of in that process at the moment because we're writing the music for the second album, and it's really interesting because, well, Catrin's a lot more organized than I am. She actually has a folder in her voice notes on her phone that says Catrin and Aoife. Mine are really not listed, which is great because it means I find one by mistake every now and again, and it kind of brings me back to the, wherever we were when we wrote that little riff. But it is really interesting now that we've got the first album, we've a little bit more time, and it's really interesting where we want to bring this next record. We kind of want to expand on what we've already done and see how far we can push things, and just, I suppose, keep writing, just write more, and if anything, kind of write better for the violin and harp duo, and see what we can do with this duo, with this sound world, and where we can bring it next. The record will be out in autumn 2026, so we'll have it recorded by the end of the year. And yeah, we're very excited about it, but it is tricky, the second record.
Yes, it's the not the dreaded. I don't want to say dreaded second record, but it's the one exciting. It's slightly more tricky than the second one, because you've created something, and for the first one, there's always that element of what is it, and a kind of you can be more. Actually, you can be more free, I think, because you can be anything. Yeah. Then on the second record, you've sort of created what it is you're about. And people have expectation.
And I think you have to really take a direction with the second record.
Yeah.
It has to be going somewhere, because we've kind of presented the general project with the first record, and now we kind of have to
And obviously, we're
show
both
people where we're going.
quite competitive people.
Not with each other.
So the idea of it not being quite as good as the first
Oh,
doesn't sound
no,
so.
that wouldn't do.
Yeah, so it's gonna have to be better.
It's the make or break record. Thank you.